The stars looked the same as always, but Captain Hyun knew something was different. He stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the screens that showed the empty space ahead. His ship was huge, stretching 8 kilometers from front to back. It carried 3,000 crew members and enough weapons to destroy a small moon. But right now, all those weapons didn't matter. What mattered was the strange signal his team had picked up an hour ago. "Captain, I'm getting more readings," said Commander Yuna from her station. She was his second-in-command, a woman who never panicked even when things went wrong. "Whatever it is, it's getting closer." Hyun walked over to her console and looked at the data. The signals were definitely artificial. Someone had built the things making those signals. But they weren't human. Humanity had been exploring space for 200 years, and they had never found another intelligent species. Until now, maybe. "Send a message to Admiral Tae," Hyun said. "Tell him we might have company." Far away, on the other side of the meeting point, Ambassador Velthar of the Valorian species was having similar thoughts. His scout ship was small and fast, designed for exploration rather than fighting. He had spent 40 years serving the Galactic Council, and he had seen many strange things. But these new signals made no sense. The Galactic Council had ruled this part of space for 3,000 years. 4 species worked together to keep peace. The Valorians, who were good at talking and diplomacy, the Quintari, who built amazing technology, the Draxians, who were fierce warriors, and the Pelthans, who controlled most of the trade routes. They thought they knew everything about the galaxy. They were wrong. "The quantum signatures are unlike anything in our database," said Velthar's science officer. "The energy output is enormous." Velthar felt a chill run through his body. His species could sense danger, and right now, every instinct told him to run. But he was a diplomat. Running wasn't an option. "Send the standard greeting in all known languages. Maybe they'll understand one of them." On the Indomitable, Lieutenant Mina almost jumped out of her chair. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's not in any human language." The bridge went quiet. Every person stopped what they were doing and looked at the main screen. Strange symbols appeared, along with sounds that no human throat could make. History was happening right now, right here, and everyone knew it. "Record everything," Hyun ordered, "and get me Admiral Tae. Now." The call connected in seconds. Admiral Tae's face appeared on the screen. He was an old man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. "Captain Hyun, what's your situation?" "Sir, we've made contact with an alien species. They're trying to communicate." Tae was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. Just a little. "Well, we always wondered if we were alone. Guess we have our answer. Don't do anything aggressive, but don't show weakness either. I'm bringing the fleet. We'll be there in 6 hours." 6 hours felt like 6 years. The two groups of ships watched each other from a distance. Neither side moved closer. Neither side moved away. Finally, the waiting ended when 3 more human warships arrived, their massive forms appearing out of faster-than-light travel. Velthar watched the new arrivals on his scanners and felt his blood turn cold. Each ship was enormous. The smallest one was 5 kilometers long. The largest was 12 kilometers of metal and weapons. His own ship could fit inside one of their cargo bays. "How is this possible?" his science officer whispered. "No species builds ships this large. It's too expensive, too impractical." But Velthar understood something his officer didn't. These newcomers built big ships because they could, because they wanted to, because size itself was a weapon that made enemies afraid. "Contact the Council," Velthar said quietly. "Tell them we need more ships. And tell them to send someone who knows how to negotiate with predators." On the Indomitable, Hyun studied the alien scout ship on his screen. It was tiny, barely bigger than one of his shuttlecraft. Its weapons looked weak. Its engines were efficient but not particularly powerful. Either these aliens were very brave or very stupid to approach 4 human warships with just that little ship. "They're sending another message," Mina reported. I think they want to meet, face to face." "Where?" Hyun asked. "There's an asteroid about halfway between us. They're suggesting we meet there. Both sides bring small teams. No weapons." Yuna laughed. "No weapons? Do they know what humans are like?" Hyun didn't laugh. "They don't know anything about us. That's the problem. We don't know anything about them either." He looked at Admiral Tae's face on the screen. "Sir, your orders?" Tae thought for a moment. "Accept the meeting. But Captain, take a full security team. If these aliens try anything, I want you to have options." "Understood, sir." The meeting was set for the next day. That night, neither side slept much. Velthar prepared himself mentally for meeting a species that built ships like mobile fortresses. Hyun read every piece of data his science team had collected about the alien vessel. Both of them knew that what happened at this meeting would change everything. When morning came, Hyun took a shuttle to the asteroid with 20 people, Marines in full armor, scientists with scanning equipment, and Mina to help with communication. The asteroid was small and airless, so everyone wore spacesuits. Hyun's suit was military grade, tough enough to survive in a volcano. The alien shuttle landed on the other side of the asteroid. Hyun watched through his helmet as 6 figures stepped out. They were tall and thin, with skin that looked blue in the starlight. They moved gracefully, almost like they were dancing. They also looked fragile, like a strong wind might break them. The 2 groups walked toward each other across the gray rock. When they were 10 meters apart, they stopped. For a long moment, nobody moved. Human and alien just stared at each other, trying to understand what they were seeing. Then Velthar did something brave. He raised his hand in what he hoped was a peaceful gesture. Hyun did the same. And just like that, 2 species that had never known about each other took their first step toward understanding. But understanding, Hyun would learn, was much harder than simply meeting. And some members of the Galactic Council didn't want understanding at all. They wanted the humans gone before it was too late. The conference room on the asteroid base was cold and uncomfortable. Ambassador Velthar sat on one side of the table with his delegation. Across from him sat Captain Hyun and his team of humans. Between them floated a holographic display where Lieutenant Mina's translation program tried to make sense of 2 completely different languages. It had been 3 days since the first meeting. 3 days of slow, painful progress. Mina was brilliant at her job, and she had managed to create a basic translation system. It wasn't perfect. Sometimes the aliens said things that made no sense. Sometimes the humans said things that seemed to horrify the aliens, but they could communicate, and that was something. "Let me make sure I understand," Velthar said slowly, his words appearing as text on the human side of the display. "You humans have been expanding into space for 200 years?" "That's correct," Hyun replied. "We've colonized 47 star systems." Velthar exchanged looks with the other aliens. 47 systems in 200 years was incredibly fast. The Galactic Council had taken 1,000 years to reach that many worlds. "And in all that time, you never encountered another intelligent species?" "No. We thought we were alone." "We thought the same thing about our region of space," Velthar said. "The Council controls 47 systems as well. It seems we both expanded in different directions until now." A Quintari scientist named Zephyrin leaned forward. His species was known for their love of technology and learning. "Captain Hyun, may I ask about your ships? The energy readings we detected are unusual." Hyun nodded to Chief Engineer Day, who pulled up a simplified diagram. "Our larger ships use antimatter reactors for power. The Indomitable has 3 of them." The room went silent. Every alien stared at the humans like they had just announced they carried bombs in their pockets, which, Day realized too late, was kind of accurate. Antimatter? Zephrin's voice was barely a whisper. You use antimatter as a power source? Yes. Is that a problem? Velthar spoke carefully, choosing his words with great care. Captain Hyun, the Galactic Council considered antimatter reactors 2,000 years ago. We decided they were too dangerous. One small mistake, and an entire ship could be destroyed. Your whole crew could die in an instant. Day shrugged. Sure, it's dangerous. That's why we have 17 different safety systems. We've been using antimatter for 80 years. Only lost 2 ships to reactor failure. Only 2? Velthar wasn't sure if the human was joking. Out of 15,000 ships built. That's a very good safety record. The aliens looked at each other. These humans talked about incredibly dangerous technology like it was normal. What else were they willing to use? Velthar was afraid to ask, but he had to know. What about weapons? What do your ships carry? Hyun pulled up another display. Standard loadout for a ship like the Indomitable includes railguns, missile batteries, laser arrays, and plasma cannons. For planetary bombardment or siege situations, we have nuclear warheads. A Draxian officer named Koreth stood up so fast his chair fell over. The Draxians were warriors, proud and fierce. They had fought more wars than any other council species, and Koreth looked absolutely shocked. Nuclear weapons? You still use nuclear weapons? Of course, Hyun said. They're very effective. They're barbaric. Koreth's translator struggled with the emotion in his voice. The council banned nuclear weapons 1,500 years ago. They caused too much destruction, too much death. Yuna spoke up for the first time. With respect, Commander Koreth, we use nuclear weapons because they work. When you're fighting a war, you use every tool available. War should have rules, Koreth said. Honor, limits. War is about surviving, Yuna replied. Everything else is just pretty words. The meeting was going badly. Velthar could feel it falling apart. He needed to change the subject quickly. Perhaps we should discuss biology. Understanding our physical differences might help us work together better. Dr. Hana, a human xenobiologist, seemed happy to move to a safer topic. She pulled up scans of both species. We've been analyzing the data from our first meeting. The differences are quite interesting. Ambassador Velthar, what's the gravity on your homeworld? 0.6 of a standard gravity unit, Velthar replied. Hana nodded. That explains a lot. Earth, our homeworld, has 1 full gravity unit. We evolved in a much heavier environment. That's why we're built thicker and stronger. How much stronger? Asked Zephyrin. Our preliminary tests suggest an average human is about 3 times stronger than an average Valorian. Maybe 4 times stronger than a Quintari. The number hung in the air like a threat. Velthar understood now why the humans built such huge ships and used such dangerous weapons. They were strong. They were tough. They had evolved on a harsh world that made them into survivors. Koreth understood it too, but he understood it as a threat. And the Draxians? How do we compare? Hana checked her data. You're the strongest of the council species we've met. An average Draxian is about 60% as strong as an average human. Koreth sat down slowly. His whole life, he had been a warrior. He had trained since childhood to fight and win. And now he learned that these newcomers were naturally stronger than him. It was humiliating. The meeting continued for another hour, but the mood had changed. Every new fact they learned about each other seemed to make things worse instead of better. The humans used dangerous technology without fear. They had no concept of limited warfare. They were physically superior to every council species, and they had been expanding aggressively into space for 200 years. When the meeting finally ended, Velthar watched the humans return to their shuttle. Captain Hyun had been polite and professional the whole time, but Velthar could see the calculation in his eyes. The human was a military officer, and he was counting up his advantages like a merchant counting coins. Back on the Indomitable, Hyun met with his senior staff in his private office. "Thoughts?" he asked. "They're afraid of us," Yuna said bluntly. "Did you see their faces when we talked about antimatter reactors?" "Can you blame them?" Mina asked. "From their perspective, we're these dangerous giants who play with technology they consider too risky and use weapons they consider immoral." "Are we really that different from them?" Day wondered. Hyun looked out the window at the stars. "Yes, we are. They've had peace for 3,000 years. They've forgotten what it means to struggle, to fight for survival. We haven't. We remember when resources were scarce, when every colony was a gamble, when we had to be strong or die." "So what do we do?" Yuna asked. "We do what we came here to do. We learn about them. We try to find common ground. And we prepare for the possibility that common ground doesn't exist." Far away on the Draxian flagship, Commander Koreth was having a very different conversation with his superior war chief Mordax. The war chief was old and covered in scars from 100 battles. He listened as Koreth described the humans and their capabilities. "They're too dangerous," Koreth concluded. "If we let them join the council, they'll dominate us within a generation. We'll become servants in our own empire." Mordax was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke with the weight of authority. "The Draxian people did not survive for 10,000 years by waiting for threats to destroy us. We act first. We strike when our enemy is unprepared." "You want to attack them?" "I want them gone," Mordax said coldly, "before they become a problem we cannot solve. Gather our fleet. We'll show these humans that size isn't everything. Numbers matter too, and we have the numbers." Koreth bowed and left to follow his orders. He felt good about the decision. The humans were strong, yes, but the Draxians would hit them with 50 ships against their 7. The humans would be overwhelmed. It would be over quickly. What Koreth didn't understand was that humans had spent their whole history being outnumbered, and they had learned to be very good at fighting when the odds were against them. Commander Hai didn't sleep much. As the intelligence officer for the human fleet, her job was to know what enemies were planning before they knew it themselves. She spent her nights reading intercepted communications, analyzing ship movements, and looking for patterns. Tonight, she found something that made her blood run cold. "Admiralty, we have a problem," she said over the secure channel. It was 3 in the morning, ship time. But admirals didn't complain about being woken up when the news was bad. Tay's face appeared on her screen. His eyes were alert despite the hour. "Report. The Draxians are moving ships. 50 vessels, maybe more. They're trying to hide it, but our sensors picked up the energy signatures. They're heading toward our position." "How long until they get here?" 6 hours, maybe 7. Tay was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Then he started giving orders. "Wake everyone. Battle stations. Tell Captain Hyun I want the Indomitable ready to fight. Tell Captain Jin on the Retribution to prepare his ship. And Hai." "Yes, sir?" "Good work. You might have just saved 3,000 lives." Across the fleet, alarms started blaring. Sailors ran to their posts. Engineers checked weapon systems. Marines loaded their rifles. Everyone knew what was coming. The Draxians had decided to solve their human problem with violence. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Hyun stood with his hands behind his back, watching the tactical display. 7 human ships formed a defensive pattern. They were ready. But 50 enemy ships was a lot, even for vessels as powerful as his. "Captain Jin is requesting permission to speak with you," Yuna said. Hyun smiled. Jin was aggressive and confident. Some people called him crazy. Those people had never seen him fight. "Put him through." Jin's face appeared, grinning like a maniac. Hyun, my friend. I hear we're about to have some excitement. The Draxians are bringing 50 ships. Wonderful. I was getting bored. Should we let them get close or kill them at long range? Let's see what they do first. Maybe they'll surprise us. I doubt it, Jin said, but hope springs eternal. The Draxian fleet came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 50 warships arranged in a battle wall, their weapons charged and ready. On the flagship, War Chief Mordax looked at the 7 human vessels with satisfaction. The humans had gathered together in a defensive cluster. They were scared. Good. All ships, attack formation, Mordax commanded. Target their largest ship first. Concentrate all fire on the Indomitable. Once it's destroyed, the others will surrender. The Draxian ships moved forward. Energy weapons began to glow with power. Missile tubes opened. This would be a quick victory, Mordax was certain. The humans would learn that being big didn't make you invincible. On the Indomitable, Hyun watched the enemy approach. They were moving exactly as he expected. Textbook formation, predictable targeting. They were going to learn an expensive lesson about fighting humans. All ships, weapons free, Admiral Tay's voice came over the fleet channel. Show them what happens when you pick a fight with Earth. The battle began with a storm of fire. Draxian energy beams crossed space and hit the Indomitable's hull. The beams were powerful, designed to cut through any known armor. They made the human ship's shields glow bright blue, but they didn't penetrate. The Indomitable's armor was 3 meters thick in places, made from alloys that could survive inside a star. Hull temperature rising, Day reported from engineering. We can take this for about 20 minutes before we need to worry. They won't get 20 minutes, Hyun said calmly. Railguns, fire. The Indomitable carried 40 railguns, massive weapons that fired chunks of metal at a significant fraction of light speed. When they fired together, it sounded like thunder. 40 metal slugs crossed the distance to the Draxian fleet in seconds. 3 Draxian ships simply exploded. Their shields couldn't stop solid projectiles moving that fast. The kinetic energy was too much. One moment they were there, the next they were clouds of debris. By the ancestors, Mordax whispered. What kind of weapons are those? His science officer was frantically checking data. War Chief, those are kinetic weapons. They're not using energy at all. Our shields are designed to stop lasers and plasma. They're useless against solid projectiles. Mordax felt fear for the first time in decades. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Don't let them target you. But the human ships were already firing again. And again. Every 10 seconds, another volley of railgun rounds crossed space. The Draxian fleet started to break formation, ships scattering to avoid the deadly projectiles. Captain Jin saw his opportunity. Retribution, full speed. We're going into the middle of them. His crew knew better than to argue. The Retribution was smaller than the Indomitable, only 4 kilometers long, but it was fast and carried more weapons than any other destroyer in the fleet. Jin aimed his ship straight at a group of 12 Draxian vessels. They're insane, a Draxian captain said, watching the human ship charge forward. 1 ship against 12? They're committing suicide. The Retribution opened fire with everything it had. Railguns, missiles, lasers, plasma cannons. Jin didn't believe in holding back. He believed in hitting the enemy with so much firepower they didn't have time to think. 2 Draxian ships died in the first 5 seconds. The Retribution flew through the debris and kept shooting. A Draxian missile hit its port side, blowing a hole in the armor. Jin didn't even slow down. Hull breach on deck 7, his damage control officer shouted. Seal it, Jin yelled back, and somebody shoot that ship that hit us. A railgun round took revenge a moment later. The Draxian ship that had scored the hit broke apart. Major Sumi led her Marines through the corridors of the Retribution, heading for the damaged section. Her team wore power armor that made them look like walking tanks. When they reached Deck 7, they found the hull breach and started welding emergency plates over it. Major, "We've got a Draxian ship close enough to board," someone said over the radio. Sumi grinned inside her helmet. "Where?" "Captain Jin rammed it. We're stuck together." "Perfect. Marines, grab your boarding tools. We're going to capture ourselves an alien ship." What happened next would become famous in human military history. Major Sumi and 20 Marines cut through the hull of a Draxian cruiser and fought their way inside. The Draxian crew was brave and tried to stop them, but humans in power armor were unstoppable. They were stronger, faster, and they had trained for boarding actions since the days when humans fought each other on Earth's oceans. The Draxian captain surrendered when Sumi kicked down his bridge door and pointed a rifle at his head. "Your ship is now property of the United Earth Systems," she said through her translator. "Your crew will not be harmed if they cooperate. Do you understand?" The captain looked at the human standing in his bridge, wearing armor that made her look like a machine, and he understood perfectly. He ordered his crew to stand down. Outside, the battle was ending. 31 Draxian ships were destroyed. 14 had been captured, their crews surrendering when they realized they couldn't win. 5 were running away as fast as their engines could push them. The human fleet had taken damage. The Indomitable's armor was scorched and melted in places. The Retribution had 3 hull breaches and was venting atmosphere. But all 7 human ships were still functional. All 7 could still fight. "Cease fire," Admiral Tay ordered. "Let the survivors run. I want the galaxy to know what happened here." Captain Jin looked at his damaged ship and laughed. "That was fun. When can we do it again?" On the Draxian flagship, Mordak stared at his screens in horror. 50 ships. He had brought 50 ships, and the humans had destroyed them in 47 minutes. How was that possible? The answer was simple, though Mordax didn't want to accept it. The humans had better weapons, better armor, better training, and something else, something the Draxian couldn't understand. The humans didn't just fight to win. They fought like they enjoyed it. Across the galaxy, species that had been watching the battle through long-range sensors tried to process what they had seen. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Some wanted to unite against the human threat. Others saw opportunity in allying with such a powerful species. But everyone agreed on one thing. The galaxy had changed. These humans were here to stay, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Galactic Council chamber was a massive dome on the planet Valoria, home to the species that had founded the Council 3,000 years ago. Today, representatives from all 47 member worlds gathered to discuss the most important question they had ever faced: what to do about humanity. Ambassador Nara stepped off her shuttle and looked up at the dome. She was Earth's best diplomat, chosen specifically for this mission. Behind her, Captain Wan commanded the UES Sentinel, a super dreadnought 12 kilometers long that now orbited above the capital city. The ship was supposed to be a gesture of respect, but judging from the nervous looks the aliens gave it, it was more like a polite threat. "Ambassador Nara, welcome to Valoria," Velthar said, greeting her at the entrance. The Valorian had been one of the first aliens to meet humans, and he had worked hard to promote peaceful relations. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "Very comfortable, thank you," Nara replied. "Though I apologize if our ship's presence is causing concern. We didn't mean to frighten anyone." Velthar glanced up at the sky where the Sentinel hung like a small moon. "I think awe is a better word than fear, though there is some fear too, I must admit." Inside the chamber, Nara took her seat at a temporary position reserved for potential new members. Around the circular room sat representatives from dozens of species. Some looked curious, some looked worried, and some, particularly the Draxians, looked angry. The council speaker, a Valorian named Shadari, called the session to order. "We are here to discuss humanity's application to join the Galactic Council as the 5th major species. Before we vote, Ambassador Nara has been given time to address this body. Nara stood and walked to the center of the chamber. She had prepared a speech, but looking at all these different faces, she decided to speak from her heart instead. Members of the Council, 3 weeks ago my species didn't know you existed. We thought we were alone in the universe. Now we know better. We know there's a whole civilization out here, thousands of years old, with its own history and culture and dreams. She paused, making eye contact with different representatives. I won't pretend the first meeting between our peoples went perfectly. It didn't. We scared you with our ships and our weapons. You confused us with your customs and your caution. And yes, there was violence. The Draxian fleet attacked ours, and we defended ourselves. A Draxian representative stood up, his face twisted with rage. Defended? You slaughtered 50 ships. We were attacked by 50 ships, Nara said calmly. If the situations were reversed, what would you have done? Let them destroy you? We fight to survive, just like any species. The only difference is we're very good at it. That's the problem, the Draxian said. You're too good at it. You'll dominate us all. Only if you make us your enemy, Nara replied. We don't want to conquer anyone. We want to trade, to learn, to share this galaxy together. But we won't be weak. We won't apologize for being strong, and we won't let anyone attack us without consequences. Shadari raised her hand for silence. Thank you, Ambassador. Now, I believe the Quintari Prime Minister has something to say. Telsarn was a thin, tall Quintari with large eyes that saw everything. His species valued knowledge above all else, and he had been studying humanity very carefully. I move that we accept humanity into the Council, not because I'm not afraid of them, but because I'm more afraid of what happens if we don't. Explain, Shadari said. The humans are here whether we like it or not, Telsarn said. They control 47 systems. They have millions of citizens. They're not going away. So we have two choices. We can treat them as friends and hopefully guide them toward peaceful cooperation, or we can treat them as enemies and guarantee a war we might not win. A Pelthan merchant named Kor spoke up. There are economic benefits too. The humans have resources we need, rare metals from high-gravity worlds that we can't safely mine. And they're interested in our medical technology and faster-than-light communications. So we should accept them because they're useful? The Draxian representative asked. What happens when they decide they don't need us anymore? Engineer Kai, who had been sitting quietly in the human delegation, stood up. May I speak? Shadari nodded. The floor recognizes Engineer Kai. I've spent the last week working with Quintari scientists, Kai said, sharing technology, learning from each other. And you know what I discovered? We're better together. Human metallurgy combined with Quintari energy efficiency creates power systems neither of us could build alone. That's the future. Not conquest, not domination. Cooperation. Telsarn nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. My scientists tell me that working with Engineer Kai has advanced our understanding of material science by decades. Imagine what we could do with 100 years of partnership. The debate continued for hours. Species after species spoke, some in favor of accepting humanity, others against. The Valorians mostly supported it. The Quintari were enthusiastic. The Peltans saw profit. The Draxians and some smaller species remained opposed. Finally, Shadari called for a vote. All those in favor of accepting humanity as the fifth major species of the Galactic Council? Hands rose across the chamber. Not all of them, but enough. When the count was finished, humanity had passed by a margin of 62%. The motion carries, Shadari announced. Humanity is hereby welcomed to the Galactic Council. Ambassador Nara, on behalf of all our peoples, I welcome you. Nara bowed respectfully. She had won, but she knew this was just the beginning. Half the council still didn't trust humans. She would have to work hard to earn that trust. After the session ended, Nara met with her security team in a private room. Major Sumi, who had become famous for capturing a Draxian ship during the battle, looked concerned. "Ambassador, we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The assassination kind. Our intelligence picked up chatter. Some Draxian extremists think killing you will convince the Council to reverse their decision." Nara sighed. "How many extremists?" "8 that we know of. They plan to strike tonight when you attend the welcome ceremony." "Recommendations?" Sumi smiled coldly. "Let them try. We'll be ready." The welcome ceremony was held in a beautiful garden on the Valorian capital. Hundreds of council members and their staff attended, eating exotic foods and discussing the historic vote. Nara moved through the crowd, shaking hands and making small talk. She saw them coming before they acted. 8 Draxians, moving through the crowd with purpose. They thought they were subtle. They weren't. Humans had been dealing with assassins for thousands of years. The first Draxian pulled a weapon. Before he could fire, Major Sumi appeared from nowhere and disarmed him with a move so fast nobody saw it happen. The Draxian found himself on the ground with Sumi's knee on his back. The other 7 tried to scatter or fight. It didn't matter. Sumi's security team had been waiting. In 15 seconds, all 8 assassins were subdued without a single shot being fired. The crowd stood in shocked silence. Then Telsarn started clapping. "Magnificent! Your security team moves like water, like poetry." Other council members joined the applause. Even some of the Draxian representatives clapped, impressed despite themselves. The assassination attempt had backfired completely. Instead of making humans look vulnerable, it made them look impossibly competent. Ambassador Velthar approached Nara. "I apologize on behalf of the Council. This should never have happened." "It's fine," Nara said. "Every society has extremists. The question is what you do about them." "We will prosecute them fully," Velthar promised. "But I must ask, how did you know they were coming?" "We didn't know for certain, but we prepared for the possibility. Humans have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst." That night, aboard the Sentinel, Captain Juan met with Nara in her quarters. "You handled that well," he said. "Did I? Half the Council still thinks we're dangerous barbarians." "We are dangerous," Juan said with a slight smile. "The important thing is that we're dangerous in the service of civilization, not against it. They'll learn that eventually." "I hope you're right." A message came through on the priority channel. It was from Admiral Tay. "Ambassador, we have a situation. Unknown alien signals detected in the outer territories. Not Council species, not human, something else. And whatever they are, they're attacking Council colonies." Nara felt her stomach sink. Just when things were starting to settle down, a new crisis emerged. "What do we know about them?" "Nothing yet. But the Council is panicking. Their defense fleets are being destroyed. They're asking for our help." Juan and Nara exchanged looks. This was the moment that would define humanity's relationship with the galaxy. Would they help their new allies? Or would they stand back and let the Council face this threat alone? "Tell Admiral Tay we're coming," Nara said. "Whatever these invaders are, they're about to learn that attacking Council worlds means attacking human allies. And that's a very bad idea." Fleet Admiral J stood in the war room of Earth's military headquarters, looking at a holographic map of the galaxy. Red markers showed where the unknown invaders had struck. 17 Council colonies destroyed in the past week, thousands dead, and the attacks were getting worse. "What do we know about the enemy?" J asked. Dr. Rena, Earth's leading xenobiologist, pulled up images captured by fleeing Council ships. "They call themselves the Krell. They're a hive mind, millions of individuals all controlled by a central intelligence. Their ships are organic, grown rather than built, and they don't negotiate. They just consume everything in their path." How many ships are we talking about? The Council estimates at least 300 bioships in the invasion force, maybe more. They've been expanding through a neighboring galaxy for thousands of years. Now they've reached ours. Admiral Tay, who had traveled from the fleet to attend the meeting, spoke up. The Council's defense forces can't stop them. They tried. Lost 100 ships at Xerxes Prime yesterday. Now they're asking for our help. Asking? Jay raised an eyebrow. 3 weeks ago, the Draxians were trying to destroy us. Now they want us to save them? Ironic, isn't it? Tay agreed. But the question remains, do we help or not? Jay looked around the room at his senior officers. Opinions? We should let them burn, said one general. Why should humans die for aliens who fear us? Because it's the right thing to do, countered Admiral Tay. We judge ourselves by our actions, not by what others deserve. If we abandon the Council now, we're no better than the Krell. The debate raged for an hour. Finally, Jay raised his hand for silence. I've made my decision. We're going to help, not because the Council has earned it, but because that's who we choose to be. We're protectors. We're warriors. And we don't let civilizations fall while we stand by and watch. He turned to Tay. Take 15 ships, our best. Link up with the Council fleet and stop these Krell before they destroy any more worlds. Tay saluted. It will be done. The combined fleet gathered at the edge of the Xerxes system. 15 human warships and 200 Council vessels from all 4 major species. It was the largest military force ever assembled in Council space. But looking at the sensor readings of what was coming, it might not be enough. Captain Hyun walked through the Indomitable's corridors, checking on his crew. They had been through battles before, but this felt different. This wasn't a conflict between civilizations. This was survival. The Krell didn't want territory or resources. They wanted to consume everything alive. Captain, we're getting our first visual on the Krell fleet, Yuna called from the bridge. Hyun returned to his command station and looked at the screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. The Krell ships didn't look like ships at all. They looked like massive creatures swimming through space. Tentacles and teeth and eyes, all made of flesh and chitin and things that shouldn't exist. How many? He asked. 312 confirmed contacts, Yuna said. They're moving in a coordinated pattern. Perfect synchronization. Because they're all one mind, Dr. Rena explained over the fleet channel. We've been studying the data. The Krell don't have individual commanders. They're all controlled by a central intelligence somewhere in that fleet. Captain Sung, commanding the experimental ship UES Vanguard, spoke up. Doc, if we kill the central intelligence, does the whole fleet die? It's more complicated than that. The Hive has redundancy. But if we could disrupt the quantum entanglement they use to communicate, we might confuse them enough to create an opening. The Vanguard carries a quantum disruptor, Sung said. Experimental weapon. We've never tested it in combat, but theoretically it should work. Admiral Tay made a quick decision. Then that's our plan. The Council fleet engages the Krell and draws their attention. Human ships punch through the center and get Sung close enough to use the disruptor. Once their coordination breaks down, we hit them with everything we have. Velthar, commanding a Council cruiser, sent a message. Admiral Tay, are you certain about this? We'll be taking most of the casualties to protect your approach. I know, Tay said quietly. And I'm sorry. But if this doesn't work, we're all dead anyway. At least this way we have a chance. The Krell fleet arrived at Xerxes Prime like a living wave of destruction. They didn't communicate, didn't demand surrender. They just attacked with the single-minded purpose of a shark, smelling blood. The Council fleet moved forward to meet them. 200 ships against 300. Energy weapons flashed across space. The Krell bioships fired projectiles made of compressed organic matter that exploded on impact. Council ships started dying within the first minute. All human ships maximum speed, Tay ordered. Form a spearhead formation. We're going straight through their center. The 15 human warships accelerated, their powerful engines pushing them faster than any Council vessel could match. They arranged themselves in a tight formation with the Indomitable at the front. It was a battering ram of metal and weapons aimed at the heart of the enemy fleet. The Krell noticed the human ships and redirected hundreds of their bioweapons. The Indomitable's shields flared as impacts struck its hull. Armor that had survived the Draxian battle started to crack under the sustained bombardment. Hull breaches on decks 9 through 12, Day reported from engineering. Switching to emergency power for shields. We can't take much more of this. We don't need much more, Hyun said through gritted teeth. Just get us close enough. The Indomitable flew deeper into the Krell formation, absorbing damage that would have destroyed any other ship. Behind it, the other human vessels provided covering fire, their railguns tearing through Krell bioships. Sung, you're up, Tay transmitted. Clear shot in 30 seconds. The Vanguard broke formation and accelerated past the other ships. It was smaller and faster, designed for exactly this kind of mission. Captain Sung aimed for the densest concentration of Krell signals. Quantum disruptor charging, his weapons officer announced. 20 seconds to full power. A Krell bioship, bigger than any other, turned to face the Vanguard. It opened a mouth filled with bioluminescent teeth and fired a massive projectile. The shot hit the Vanguard's port side, spinning the ship wildly. Stabilizers offline, someone shouted. We're losing orientation. I don't need orientation, Sung said calmly. I just need to fire. Weapon status? Charged and ready. Then fire everything. The quantum disruptor activated with a pulse of energy that sensors could barely detect. It spread through space at the speed of light, hitting the Krell fleet's communication network and severing the quantum entanglement that linked them all together. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then chaos erupted. The Krell bioships suddenly lost their perfect coordination. Some stopped moving, others fired randomly, a few even attacked each other. The hive mind had been disrupted, and the individual organisms didn't know what to do. Now, Admiral Tay shouted. All ships, full assault! Hit them while they're confused! The combined fleet surged forward. Human railguns fired continuously, punching holes in the Krell bioships. Council energy weapons, now able to target properly, burned through organic armor. Commander Yuna coordinated the final assault from the Indomitable, directing fire with precision that turned the battle into a massacre. The Krell tried to re-establish their connection. They tried to reorganize, but it was too late. The humans had broken their formation, and now they were paying the price. When the shooting finally stopped, only 43 Krell bioships remained alive. They fled into deep space, running from an enemy they had thought would be easy prey. The cost had been high. 87 Council ships destroyed, 4 human vessels heavily damaged, including the Indomitable, which looked like it had been through a meat grinder. But they had won. The Krell invasion was broken. In the aftermath, Velthar's damaged cruiser pulled alongside the Indomitable. The Valorian sent a message directly to Captain Hyun. Thank you. Without your fleet, we would have died here. We're allies now, Hyun replied simply. Allies protect each other. Back on Valoria, the Council held a special ceremony. Ambassador Nara stood with Admiral Tay, Captain Hyun, and the other human commanders. Counselor Shadari presented them with medals of honor, the highest recognition the Council could give. You came to our aid when you didn't have to, Shadari said. You risked your lives for people who had feared you. You've shown us that strength without compassion is tyranny, but compassion without strength is helpless. You have both. Nara bowed. The Council and humanity are stronger together. This battle proved that. Over the following months, the relationship between humans and the Council species deepened. Engineer Kai worked with Quintari scientists on joint projects. Major Sumi trained Council security forces in human combat techniques. Dr. Rena shared medical advances while learning alien biotechnology. The Draxians, who had attacked humans just months before, became some of their strongest allies. War Chief Mordax personally apologized to Admiral Tay. "We thought you were a threat. We were right, but wrong about what that meant. You're a threat to our enemies, not to us." Treaties were signed, trade routes established. Cultural exchanges began. The galaxy was changing, and humans were at the center of that change. Captain Hyun stood on the bridge of the repaired Indomitable, watching a combined patrol of human and alien ships fly in formation. Commander Yuna joined him at the window. "Do you think they understand us now?" she asked. Hyun considered the question. "They understand we're dangerous, but more importantly, they understand we choose who we aim that danger at. We could have let them fall. We could have used their weakness to dominate them. We chose to protect them instead. And that's what makes us different from the Krell." "Exactly. The Krell consume. The Draxians conquer. The Council negotiates. But humans? We do something harder. We choose to be both strong and good, to fight when necessary and protect when possible. That's what the galaxy needed to see." Through the view screen, human and alien ships flew together. No longer strangers, but allies who had proven themselves in the fire of battle. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but facing those dangers together, they had a chance. And for humanity, that chance was all they had ever needed.